Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of the Halo Montager podcast. In this episode, I have Chris
What up?
and Aaron.
Hello.
And this episode is mostly going to revolve around editing. And the first topic we kind of agreed upon was editing styles. So let's start with Aaron.
Oh, yay. Okay. So yeah, we were talking about this and we kind of wanted to talk about our workflow and how we personally do things. So for me personally, I just listen to the song a bunch.
Yep.
Once I pick a song, I just listen to it over and over again. And then once I have my clips or whoever's clips, I see where they would fit well in the song, but I also want to make sure that, it ends on a good note, like with a good clip to end the song. And then I'd probably just sync it for the most part. My flow is pretty simple. It's pretty much syncing, then add the angles, then add the effects, and then you're done. And then usually adding audio is somewhere in there because it kind of depends on my motivation.
Yeah, and we'll definitely touch on that later because motivation's a really
Yeah,
good.
motivation's like my biggest wall
Yep.
for editing all the time. I had all day to edit today, and I didn't.
Me too.
I didn't want to.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's probably my workflow as far as my style goes. I think most people know me as a guy who likes glows. Definitely like glows. I don't know. I don't know how else here. Why don't you guys describe my style if you had to? Because I don't know how to describe it.
I mean,
It
you
has
definitely try
glows.
things that a lot of editors haven't tried before, like idea-wise. Like there's some stuff
That's true.
that isn't out yet that I have seen that you've done that I don't think people have really attempted before.
Yeah.
And
There's the tree. I remember the tree.
yeah,
Now that you say that.
yeah. Yep. If you guys don't know what we're talking about the mask tree effect from Absolute Keats M5 that Aaron did. It was a pretty
Yeah.
proud moment. I remember he
I was
posted it
pretty. I was
in the
pretty
chat.
happy
He's like,
with
"This
it.
is my best 13 seconds of editing ever."
Yeah, that has since been passed, but yes.
Yeah. I think of you like upbeat editor, like you always pick songs that are for the most part pretty like energetic and like full of life, I guess.
Yeah.
That might
No, that's
change it, or you
actually.
might choose to do some other sort of style of an edit, but
Yeah,
that's what
that's
I've mostly seen
actually.
from you. So
Yeah, that's actually something too that I was thinking about, and we might talk about this further because I know one of our thoughts was song choice.
yeah,
But one thing I've learned too is I usually try to go for different songs, which are usually upbeat, but I usually try to go for different songs, and sometimes it depends on who I'm editing for. Picking songs is a really hard thing, so that's why I think I focus so much on the song once I pick it, because it's like sometimes it's so hard to find the song. So when you have the song, actually use the song
yep.
and use everything you can for the song. But yeah, that's what I'd say is my style slash flow.
Do you have like any editing like inspirations? I know you do, but I just want to mention.
Oh yeah, for sure. Silly Goose, Zestel, Pooba, Xander, they all inspired me from the start. I think they all have their own takes though. Like
Yeah,
I know this is a topic for the future too, but we can talk about this now. Is like for me, I look up to Silly for his angles.
yep.
I look up to Zestel or Howard for his flow. And then I kind of look up to Pooba for his effects and song choices and kind of put that all together. And then Xander's kind of a mix of those three. So
Xander's a really good intense editor.
yeah,
That's one thing that he excels at for sure.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's my inspirations. I have other ones too, of course, but those are probably my top ones for sure.
All right, well, I guess I'll go next because one thing that you guys might not know is that Aaron and I actually use the same programs for editing.
We do.
And so we both have Macs, which a lot of people think that Macs are better for like multimedia, like creation and stuff. But Final Cut's definitely a tough program to use sometimes because
Yeah, it is.
there are things in it that just sometimes just don't make sense, and there are some things that you can do in Final Cut that you can't do in Vegas, but vice versa. There are a lot of things that Final Cut makes unbelievably difficult compared to like Sony Vegas and like Premiere Pro and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we have a pretty similar workflow, I'd say. Like picking a song is hard enough, especially because like songs are being used all the time by like people these days, whether it's a big Taj or not. And it's like it's kind of common courtesy to pick a song that hasn't been used before. There are some exceptions to that, but I mean, for the most part, you're not going to want to use a song that's been used in a like respected video.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, I mean, when I pick a song, I'm like, when I drive anywhere, it's on repeat like the whole time. I like try and like envision, I guess, what clips go where, some ideas I have. A lot of times I can't actually pull off the ideas because I suck, but that's another story. But once they're in the timeline, clip placement's really hard because, like I said, you have to listen to the song like over and over and over again. But it's definitely something that's like really necessary and doesn't come easy. You kind of have to like practice at it a bunch of times and you'll get better. But after that, I mean, syncing is pretty straightforward. I have this really bad workflow though of syncing everything out and having blank spaces for angles, then doing the angles, then rendering that out, doing all the cropping in one like take, and then rendering that out again, and then taking that whole file and putting it into After Effects. And Aaron has a slightly different style, which
I forgot to mention that. So what I do is after I add the angles, I usually only take one clip, one maybe two clips, and go one by one adding effects to each one. Sometimes I have to use like 2 or 3 clips just because of transitions, and like cutting those in half would kind of not work very well. Yeah, Chris on the other hand uses he does the entire song in one project, which
I'm not super good
it's
at like
worked for him.
organizing things sometimes. So like I don't want to have like a bunch of folders of like clip 1, clip 2, clip 3, whatever. But definitely there are a lot of advantages to what Aaron does and a lot of disadvantages to what I do, especially when it's like render time and stuff.
Yeah, I'd like to say too, I have a 13-inch MacBook Pro with Final Cut and Adobe After Effects and the Elgato and all that stuff. If I did what Chris did, I don't think I'd ever get anything done because I don't think my computer would handle it, to be quite honest. Or it would, but I think what I do is also just better for my computer.
Definitely.
I think for you, Chris, you have, I think you have a better computer personally. So
yeah,
I think
it's pretty old. It's like 4 years old, but it was top of the line back then, and it's a 27-inch monitor, so like I can actually like see everything, like, and I don't have to have it all like full screen. I can edit while doing other things sometimes, which is definitely nice. But my computer has a fair share of problems too.
Yes, it does.
Which I don't need to go into, but I mean that's pretty much my workflow. It's definitely something that definitely needs to be improved, but I'm just kind of working with what I have at the moment. And in terms of style, I mean, it's an interesting thing because I feel like style gets like carried on through like sort of generations of editors. Because when I first started, I met Rob, Mr. Blonde, and he taught me a lot about editing. But he specifically said like, don't think any of this is original. My style is totally based on Mike Ishii's style, and I kind of like built upon that. And then I kind of took Rob's style and ended up like putting my own take on it, but definitely taking a lot of like what he told me to heart, like flow wise and stuff. Because I mean, Mr. Blonde is the flow god. There's no disputing that.
It's true.
And then I met Aaron, and I learned some stuff in After Effects. I still don't know nearly as much as he does, but I learned some of the more like simple effects and stuff, and I ended up incorporating that too. And I mean, we all just kind of help each other out, which I mean, we'll try and touch on originality later, but that's definitely something that like a lot of people don't understand, is that like we all kind of learn off each other in the editing community for sure.
Yeah.
And it's not like totally based on talking to people. Sometimes like you'll see an edit and just be like totally inspired by what that person did. Like it just happens sometimes.
Yeah.
For sure. And as far as inspirations, I mean, I look up to the same people Aaron does. I mean, Zestel's probably my favorite current editor right now. I mean, I don't know if it's current because I don't know if he's working on anything currently, but I know for a fact that the combination of like really original effect ideas, the awesome flow, the crazy angles, which I can try hundreds and hundreds of times and never be able to pull off anything like remotely close. I mean, I look up to all those guys, and I mean, Mr. Blonde. I mean, you two for sure. Also, I mean, I don't know. We all just kind of learn off each other, and when new people come along who like really are into to editing and start improving, I'll mention Darren here because he's getting a lot better at editing now too. I mean, it's kind of nice to be able to like to support them and give them tips and stuff, and I don't know. It's just a nice like supportive community. I feel like because we all kind of help each other out whether we know it or not.
No, one of the things that me and Chris did when we first met was, well, we had Skype and Discord doesn't have this yet, but in Skype you could share screens. And one of the biggest things we did is we went through each other's videos, like watched each other edit and like
Yeah.
tried to help each other out. Sometimes it went well, sometimes it didn't, but it was still.
We would definitely still be doing that if Discord had screen sharing yet.
Yeah, we would, but anyway.
Soon.
Yeah, soon. So Chris, you did it to me, so I'll kind of return the favor. I'd say for your style, one of the huge things is, yeah, you kind of do an upbeat, kind of a slightly different take than me, but you still do upbeat. But the main thing that I know with your style, you definitely focus on color a lot.
Yeah.
Like that's something I've noticed. You use a lot of color with your glows. Like, yeah, I use glows a lot, but my glows are blue, red, orange. That's it.
Yeah, I always like kind of
You
have
use a
3 or
lot of
4 glows on
colors.
top of each other.
Yeah. And you do the effect a lot where it's like you desaturate the clip and make it darker and then brighten it up on the beat. And like
Yeah, and that's definitely not my thing. I've seen tons of editors do that, but
well, I don't
it
think
just
it's
kind of became
like
something that like made sense, honestly.
I don't
Like in a
think
low part of the song and stuff.
I don't think any editor has used it as well and as much as you have. I think every editor has probably done it at some point, but I think you do it the most and I think you do it really well. So I think that's one thing that adds to your style. I think another thing too is you just like this is not even editing necessarily, but you just edit for everyone. No, like
Yeah.
I'm serious. I edit for Mike, I edit for Kyle, and then a few other people here and there. Because I've edited like 3 or 4 things for Kyle, like 5 things for Mike, 3 things for you, or however many. Like I don't edit for that many different people. You've edited for everyone. So that's
Yeah,
one thing
and
I'd
I mean
say.
that's definitely really good for like experience and stuff, and also I mean, it's nice to be able to edit like different styles of gameplay and different games and stuff, but a lot of that is just because I'm too nice. Like I can't say no to people when they offer me good clips and they're like edit for me. So that's
Yeah,
yeah, that's something I need to work on.
I'm pretty good at saying no. Anyway, Devin,
All right. I mean, my
it's
answer is
been a
not gonna
while
be
since you talked.
not gonna be as interesting as your guys's, but
No, it will. You're the
no.
new upcoming editor.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So if we were to go with my workflow, part of it is that people are gonna notice that I tend to work really fast. I put out montages pretty regularly, and
I admire you so much for doing that, by the way. Like I can't do that. I can't sit down and finish a
I
project
can't do
in
that.
one go. Like even with like average highlight videos, I normally like do it in like 3 or 4 like sessions of editing.
yeah,
Like you
we're
pump out full montages in like hours. I don't know how
Like
you do it.
the Millertage. What was it?
Yeah.
4 days? 3 days?
well, 3 days of working. I decided to actually take one day off, so it took me 4 days.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but yeah,
That's still
that
ridiculous.
was one of the only times I've ever not just edited straight through, where I actually like segmented things. Because the Millertage, if you guys that are watching this podcast haven't watched it, it's a 15-minute
Go watch that.
montage, and I couldn't have really edited in one day unless I sat down for like 24 hours. I decided, this is a pretty lengthy project. I think I'll actually divide it to do one song a day, and that's what I did. there were 4 songs, and well, technically I edited in 3 days, and so I did 2 songs in 1 day, but that doesn't matter. Point is,
You're
I
a
tried to
freak.
segment.
I just want to say that.
What?
That's not something that a lot of people can do. So you should
to
be
do.
proud of that. Yeah, or want to do, for sure.
Motivation.
Yeah. Well, anyways, so I mentally stopped myself and said, okay, I got this song done today. I'm gonna wait till tomorrow to work on the next one. And then it ended up being song 3 and credits that I just did in 1 take. The point is that I tend to work quickly, and I'll usually do it by just picking a song. Usually I already have music on hand. I have so much music that I listen to that hasn't been used because I mean, I'm not like, oh yeah, I'm some music hipster or anything like that. It's just I feel like I listen to a lot of non-mainstream music, and so a lot of it doesn't get used by the Halo community, at least. So I have this stuff to choose from, and then I just kind of throw it on. And I've performed and just played music for a long time, so I'll usually think about like what makes music good as well. And that actually goes into part of my syncing process when I'm working. And I do that a lot in my head, like the whole syncing process, just listening to a song like 1 or 2 times. Usually the first time I'll actually like have an idea. If someone's like, "Hey, I want you to edit this montage for me, but I want to use this song." And so first time through, I'll already be trying to like place things in the right spot. So once I do that, I actually have everything on my timeline, the song and the clips. I'll trim them up and I'll sync it all. And then once I've synced everything from beginning to end, then I'll insert gun audio, and then I'll do multi-kill audio, and then I'll do effects. And I go through and do effects and pan and crop 1 clip at a time, and I don't like to skip around. I'm very much based on doing it one and then the other instead of, oh, well, I just had this idea, let me go over here real quick and then go back to it and fix it. So I'm very particular about that. You'll see that a lot if you ever watch me like stream my editing because I do that sometimes on Twitch, and you can kind of like see how I always do it. I don't do effects on stream though because my computer can't usually handle it. But doing that, I feel like it just trying to be as efficient as possible lets me get things done quickly. But as for like my style, I don't really have a style. If I do, it's pretty crappy because I'm not very original.
You have a style.
Not really. I mean, okay, again, let me explain why I'm not original. All right.
Okay.
So when I'm actually going through and working, I'll do my syncing, and I don't consider syncing very much original as just figuring out how the puzzle pieces work together. You're like, okay, well, I got this clip to fit within this phrase of the music, and then once the next like chorus picks up, there's the new clip. Okay, well then it's just a matter of finding what sig points you want to add to the certain shots, and that's all variable depending on the pace of the clip, the pace of the song, and how frequently they hit the shots, I guess. But you'll also notice that I almost never work with angles. And part of that is it was originally just laziness because when I only edited for myself, I'm like, I don't care about my own gameplay. I'm not gonna bother making this look fancy. I'm just gonna sync it together. And then when I started working for other people, it's almost exclusively been DVR clips because if you guys know MCC, the theater, well, you can't really save films. Halo 5 theater is a joke, and
Yeah,
Halo Reach theater crashes on Xbox One all the time, or it corrupts the film. So with that, I've just had to not work with theater, and I don't really like staging angles, but neither does anyone else. So I've just worked around it. And along with not really doing angles, then my actual process of making the video watchable isn't really again, it's not very creative. If you look at Aaron's edits, you'll see stuff like we mentioned the tree, or oh my god, has Baxmax Taj been released yet?
No.
Nope.
Okay, I can't talk about that then. Never mind. Okay, there's no, I can't even mention it. Okay, so anyways, Aaron is very much
I
focused
want to
on.
know what you're talking about after this.
All right, I'll mention that to you after. But
Yeah. Anyway.
he's very open to being experimental and actually inserting things into his video. What was it? There was like a Christmas video as well. I remember watching you edit it on Skype.
The one I did with
delay
Mike.
on Blackout. I love that.
Yeah, so like he actually puts things in the video versus just making things to make the footage that's already provided look better, Whereas I will never do that. I'll never insert something. And again, angles is part of that, where you're like adding something instead of just working with the footage you're given. And so for me, I very much just portray the gameplay as is. I'll sync things up, including like usually missed shots or something. And if there's kind of a down period in the footage, I'll usually just add some kind of keyframed effect to kind of visually distract the viewer, I guess. So like when it comes to syncing, they have that to look at and listen to. And then when
See,
there's nothing going
Devin,
on, I'd
that
use it.
right there is original. Like,
Well,
I can't think
I was
I
about
can't
to
think
say,
of any other editor who has that kind of philosophy where when nothing's going on screen, you like add something to distract the viewer. That's really smart, and actually, no one like really does that unless it's like when you see that most of the time it's to like cover up a mistake, like it's to cover up like I don't know, a Twixter warp or something. Like, I think that's really like a really original thing that you do that is pretty like distinctive.
Well,
Like,
I don't think it is. And reason being, other people will usually just trim up the gameplay either through jump cuts or like quick cross dissolves or some kind of transition between time passing to really speed up the footage. Which, if you do that right, it looks fine. I mean, most editors do it. But because I just try and show the gameplay as is, that's just my means of keeping the viewer visually occupied. Whereas other people shorten the gameplay to, again, keep them occupied. I just do
yeah,
it a bit differently by adding
that's
some
all
kind of
based
effect.
on like pace of the song too, though, and like the flow that you're kind of going for. Because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you haven't really used like a really fast paced song yet, so you haven't really had to like cut up clips super quickly. Whereas, I mean, when you use slow paced songs, you want to keep the flow pretty like slow to I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess kind of a faster paced song that I worked with was, well, a video that isn't out yet, but the Reach Taj, that, yeah, again, not mentioning
Yeah,
names. So there's that.
oh
That was a
yeah,
bit more
yeah, yeah,
fast
yeah.
paced. And Jacko's Mini Taj, the one called Anamoya, that one is a bit more fast paced in the song. It wasn't like really like energetic necessarily, but it was more fast paced. And I did have to do a lot of gameplay trimming in that. I actually, as I was working on that, had a lot of issues with the phrasing in it because, again, as I'm listening to a song, there are different parts to a song. Like you have the intro, you have the chorus, you have different parts to it. They're very distinctive, where you can tell that it changes. And the goal with having good flow in a video is to match the songs within those phrases. So you don't want, for example, you have like a really distinctive beat point that marks the end of that musical phrase. You don't want to be in the middle of a clip when you do that. You usually want that to be the very beginning of the clip as like a bright introduction or something, or to be the final shot. In Anamoya, I had cases where the clip was bleeding halfway through a musical phrase. I think it happened twice. And I was actually tempted to restart it just because of that, because I never let that happen otherwise. But just the pacing of the clips versus the song itself, I had to let it happen, or else it wouldn't have gotten done. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. But yeah, I guess moving away from workflow and that stuff, I definitely do
Well,
look up to a lot of editors, and actually most of the guys are here in ENF. But it's kind of weird how little I draw from them. Like I definitely appreciate what they do in their editing, and I really enjoy like how they do it, but I feel like I don't take a lot of it, like a lot from it when I actually do my editing. Not because I think, oh, well, my way is superior. No, I think that they do it way better than I do. I just don't apply it for some reason. Like again, Aaron's
well,
creativity on inserting things, I don't do it. There's a lot of people with great angle work. I don't really take off of that. I just don't do angles.
let me
So
just say that's definitely like, whether you know it or not, that's reducing like a lot of stress.
well, I know.
yeah.
Like
Because
I said, the original cause of that was laziness. The latter
yeah,
cause of it was working with DVR footage. So,
I personally noticed a lot of similarities between you and Mr. Blonde a lot because I mean, I used to kind of tease Rob for like sinking missed shots all the time, like not making clips look cleaner than they actually are, but it really is like cool for gameplay. And you do that like a lot, and I actually really like it because you like sync up every single shot with the right beat. So
Well, and
That's
sometimes you also
something
don't know when I
that
hide things. Let me spoil two examples. I hope this doesn't ruin anything. The Millertage. Do you remember Yoshi's quickscope catastrophe on Valhalla?
yes, and
Okay.
I've seen that clip, Raw. I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
So I don't think a single person has noticed unless they've seen the raw clip, but he misses a shot before the catastrophe actual like quickscope shot. But I made it look like it was one shot. Another clip that a lot of people liked was Bum's Trocity on Longshore, like the jumping whip no scope. The overkill shot had like 3 misses, but I made it
Yeah.
look like he hit it after 2. And there was
Yeah.
also in the Christmas quadtage, I think it was Matt's jumping headshot exterm on Heretic, where there
On
was a point where he missed a
Invincible, that
snipe
one.
before the pummel, and I made it look like it was just a double pummel.
Okay.
So there are points where I do cut out shots, but
Yeah.
not very often.
That that just reminded me how like God, when I was first starting, like I went to insane lengths to hide like bad parts of clips. Like you can't watch it anymore because my H4M1 got taken down like worldwide because one of the songs got blocked completely. But there's an AFK Tastic Sturm on Exile in there, and I literally put in like 5 angles before that just to try and hide that he was AFK. Like,
Oh god.
oh my god.
Wow. Yeah, I've
Just kind of
definitely
a side
been
thing,
guilty
but
of that too.
And that's also part of
yeah,
it why I
Yeah.
do sink missed shots. I don't have angles to cover it up. I could, but as you know, I don't.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
you
Devin.
mentioned copyright. I think I want to move into song choice because that kind of ties
Well,
in with it.
before you say that, Devin, I just want to say I hope you've realized that for the last 10 minutes you've described your entire editing style that you said you don't have. And you also described the way you edit originally, because yeah, Chris said the thing that you and Rob kind of have similar things, but at least with the effects and how you don't use angles very much, and that you put effects to distract them, that's pretty original.
yeah.
Even though you say you don't have originality, so I just want to say if you think you don't have your own editing style or your own originality, you just
Well,
wanted to put that out there.
okay. I will say one thing in terms of originality, though, and we talked about this a little bit before the podcast, but I'm really into knowing the technical side of things. And one of them is the concept of motion interpolation. And for anybody that does edit, you're familiar with what it is. If you use Twixtor, you've used motion interpolation on a clip before. It's basically the process of a program guessing what pixels are supposed to be in between certain frames. Because when you work with editing, you will, let's say you have a 30 FPS clip, you stretch it out to twice the length, it becomes 15 FPS. Well, how do you keep that to being smooth? You get the program to assume, okay, well, between these two pictures, if you want to think of the frames that way, you're going to have, let's say, a green pixel here and a green pixel here, two across the screen. It'll put that green pixel in between them because it'll then guess what's supposed to be there. And Twixtor does it really well as long as you don't have a lot of movement, but you can use it through, for example, I have a media encoder. You guys can see it right here on my screen, actually. This is called Hybrid. And you can use it to basically interpolate an entire piece of footage. And for the most part, it'll look clean. And I do it a lot, actually. Like the Millertage, almost every single clip I was sent. Let's see, I was sent 34 clips, I think, and only 7 of them were actually in 60 FPS. But the entire Taj is in 60 FPS, if you notice. Even Chris, who I provided the opening clip, is a reach clip, and that's in 60 FPS. And most people don't really know like that this is a thing. So the fact that I've done this with actually quite a few Tajes, I will say that is original. I haven't seen anyone else really do it.
Most people don't know how to do it, really. I mean, I don't know how to
Yeah.
do it.
I don't
Yeah.
know how to do it.
So, like I said, it's just a really technical thing, but I've always found that kind of stuff interesting, and I guess does add to the originality of things that I do.
Yeah,
Um,
for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely.
and then there's the whole super sampling enigma, because it's something that's pretty common nowadays. A lot of TVs that people use actually do super sampling, and basically super sampling is taking the vertices of pixels and refining their edges. So if you have a rasterized image that is in a fixed dimension, like some 720p image, and then you zoom in, the pixels will get larger because they're in fixed dimensions. And what it'll do is once it's blown up and at a larger size, those pixels will basically be duplicated. So let's say you blow something up to 4 times the size, 1 pixel will be then 4 pixels of the same color. So it'll take those 4 blocks and instead cut a diagonal in them, refining the edge. And then they bring it back down to its normal size, and it looks like a crisper image. And as far as I'm aware, you can only do that with vector graphics and stuff like in Adobe Animate or Illustrator, but those aren't really designed to be used with MP4 footage, for example. So I don't know how to do that with the kind of footage that I work with for like a montage. The only case I've ever seen that done in like a montage was Zola. He did that with Legacy. And I don't know how, but I really want to know. Because it's interesting. Like, again, TVs do it. There has to be some way that like a video editing program does it, but I've never seen it as a feature. So I don't know. It just makes me curious. But do you want to go into song choice now since we're done with all that?
Yeah, that Zola thing really does like interest me too, because I remember I I talked to Campy in ATL, and he said if there was a way to like upscale Apex, he would.
Oh, that'd
But
be cool.
yeah, it would be. But I mean,
And if it's a really technical process, let him know. I'll do that for him once I figure out how it's done.
okay,
So,
I'll do that.
yeah.
Okay, anyway, so you want to move into songs?
Yes, and the thing that brought it up was the fact that Chris mentioned copyright. And so let's talk about how copyright affects the kind of songs that we choose to use.
All right, so I did a comment about this. I don't know why, but I don't comment a lot like on my videos anymore. I kind of just like read through them, but I don't reply to them. But there was one that like annoyed me because I feel like people don't really understand this too much, and that is that like people kind of hate on the EDM genre as a whole now for montages, and one of the main reasons that genre is used so much now is because it's one of like not all of them, but a lot of those songs are not signed by gigantic record labels. And it doesn't matter if you're monetizing your video or not. There have been times where I've had videos that were uploaded unlisted and were instantly muted. Aaron edited a thing for me like last year, I think, and we just uploaded unlisted, just like a raw render, like not even finished, and just straight up just just muted. You can't hear it like at all.
I still
And
hate that.
yeah,
I'm
that
still
was
sad
upsetting.
to the I'm still sad to this day. It was such a good song.
Yeah. Um, but I mean, it's a really complicated thing because I mean, copyright is something that I feel like is getting more and more intense these days, considering like I keep seeing more and more videos that are being muted. Like for example, Toasty and Cause of Hell's Duel Terminus. I love that video and I can't watch it anymore.
I
Like,
looked everywhere. I asked Howard. I think I even tried to get in touch with Cause of Hell, and it's completely disappeared because the songs in it were copyrighted.
yeah,
And it wasn't even one of those videos where it gets muted. No, it just got taken down.
yep, yep.
But yeah,
It's
it's like
definitely a
what
really
Chris
tough
was
thing.
saying. Yeah, it's like what Chris was saying. EDM is one of the few genres that doesn't have a lot of those copyright policies. So it's pretty easy for us to use those songs. Um,
The other
for
thing
montages
also
though.
that kind of goes with that is that like I don't know if I can speak for everyone here, but I can edit to an EDM song like so much easier than other songs. And like I'm not saying that's like a total good thing because sometimes I like want to be challenged with my edits and stuff, but I mean I can edit like a pretty decently long EDM taj with the right amount of motivation like within like a weekend, for example, whereas I can't do that with like another song because like there's so much more complex. Like with EDM there's normally like a really consistent beat that you can sync to, and there's like 2 or 3 drops that you just have to hit, whereas Like otherwise, it can get a lot more complicated than that. And like it's not
Yeah.
every EDM song is like that, but for me personally, it's something that like I can pick up and just do pretty effortlessly without having to like really think about it. Whereas other genres are definitely not like that. Like I'm yet to try and add to like a rap song. Like that would be a whole nother challenge, I feel like.
Yeah. And I will say that I agree. Most of them are pretty easy to edit to. But one of the things I know we wanted to talk about in this podcast was the progression of Halo montages. And one thing that I think we've all noticed is that, yeah, they're easy to edit to, and most of the songs are pretty good. But for the most part, EDM montages are kind of a majority of what we see now
Yeah.
in the Halo montage community. And I think that's
Even
kind of like,
pros, like
yeah,
like
even
for
they,
example, Ninja's Halo 5 montages, I think that had what, 3 EDM songs in it, I think?
yeah, it had quite a few, and I think it's just kind of there's that thing too where it's like, um, it's kind of a back and forth thing. Like, yeah, this is a good EDM song, and it's fun to sing to, and it doesn't have copyright.
Yeah.
But there's all these other montages that have just been released that sound just like this song, but you can't use a different genre because if you wanted to use a song from a different genre, most likely it'd be copyrighted.
Yeah, and
So it's
also,
like,
I should probably point out that there is a way to check, like for any montage makers here, if you upload a song unlisted to YouTube, you can check like right there what the copyright like status is. Like you can um the majority of songs that I end up using that aren't EDM are fine to use as long as you don't monetize them. So but then again, that can change, and that's, like, the really big thing is that, like, the song that I used for my H4M1, that was totally fine, and then the record label just randomly decided to tighten up the copyright on it, so
yeah, no,
it's
because there is the copyright policies thing you can check on YouTube. Like if you go to your account and go to Creator Studio and then look up the song, you can do that too and see what it is. But I think there was one song that Chris used, or that he wasn't sure if he could use. I don't really remember, but I remember looking it up and it said like you can't use this video. It's or this song. It's blocked in every country. And then Chris uploaded it, and there was nothing. Like
yeah,
no copyright, no nothing. So it's like
yeah,
it
they
lies to you
don't
too. So
update it, I
you
feel like.
yeah, so you literally have no idea. So sometimes actually that's probably the reason why we have so many renders, because if we
Yes.
just finished the entire video and then uploaded it and it got copyrighted, that just would be the worst thing ever. Like I'm
Yeah.
already salty enough that my first render that I did for Chris was copyrighted, but if it was like a finished video, I would be
Yeah.
very upset.
Yeah. And another thing also is like a lot of people probably don't know this, but the second song that I used in Campy and I's duel, that was actually a pretty big gamble because that's signed by a really big record label. And like I had to kind of talk Tony into using it because we didn't really trust the thing on YouTube. And like he doesn't really care like about monetizing and stuff, but he was like really like worried because I mean he already had a strike on his channel from a song that was like already like totally fine to use back in the day, and then the copyright changed, and then he just gets a strike on his channel for that. So and like a lot of us, I mean, even if we don't have like the biggest channels, we have videos on here that we just like don't want to ever lose. Like
Yeah.
it's
Well,
just
that's
something that we don't want to like mess with.
yeah, like for example, if I know you guys remember it, but if anyone listening remembers Kyle's Halo 5 Montage 1, that first song is by
Oh.
21 Pilots, and that's like everyone knows who 21 Pilots are. And there was a solid 4 maybe 5 months where that video was muted because of 21 Pilots, but then it got unmuted again.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
It's like because I know Devin, I know you used the 21 Pilot song,
Hmm.
didn't you, for Camp?
Normac.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
Normac,
I used
and
the
it's
remix
not a
one too in the
problem. Yeah,
montage.
and it's not a problem now, but at the time it was muted. So
Mhm.
like it changes all the time. Sometimes you don't know it changes and stuff. I know Devin was saying this earlier about how he uses like less mainstream songs and stuff. But I don't remember which one of you said this earlier, but actually I think it was Devin. You have all these like songs you want to use, but like sometimes you just don't have a project for it. I know Chris has that, but I definitely have that too. Like I have a list of songs I've always
Yep.
wanted to use and never got to use. And one of those songs was the song I edited for Chris, and it just got copyrighted, and it kind
Yeah,
of
we
like
should just straight
it
up
crushed.
say
Yeah,
it
it
was
was.
a Coldplay song, and now for some reason that song doesn't seem to be muted on YouTube anymore. Like,
Yeah, it's not.
yeah, so
And the
these
thing
things
is,
change a lot.
yeah, and the thing that's weird too is there's like, if any of you remember Muggsy's Halo Reach Montage 2, that's a Coldplay song,
Yeah,
and it's never had a problem as far as I know.
yeah,
And yet, yes, like,
yeah.
and again,
There are other Coldplay songs and
nothing
songs
against
too.
Coldplay. I like Coldplay, but I wish I could use your songs. But yeah, so that's at least my whole take on copyright is if there wasn't copyright, I think as a Halo
You
montage
definitely see a lot
community,
more
we'd
variety.
see a lot more variety.
And the other thing I should probably mention too is like I don't hate the EDM genre at all. Like I like some of
No,
the
I don't
songs.
either.
There aren't a lot of songs that I actually don't like these days, but that being said, I understand like getting sick of a genre being used in videos over and over and over again. And I will say that every single project that I'm editing to right now isn't using any EDM songs, but like that took a long time to find songs that were like for sure like totally okay to use. And that could change like months down the line. We don't
Yeah,
know.
there's a song that I'm currently working on right now that I know Chris definitely knows about, and I'm still worried about it. We've uploaded like a test kind of thing
Yeah.
for it, and it's not copyrighted, but I'm still worried about it. And if
Yeah.
it like if it gets copyrighted, I'll be
Yeah,
really
because
upset.
it's a pretty big song, like you've heard it on the radio before.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. You've
but
been
I mean, a
quiet.
lot of people just say like I don't know, use whatever you like basically, and that's just becoming less and less easy these days. I mean, it's just really difficult to find a song that, well, first of all, hasn't been used when you have certain people who are like putting out them in highlight videos and montages like all the time. Like people do that. They just like pump out videos using songs. And I mean, this might go against some people's philosophy, but how I was told this by Mr. Blonde, he told me that as much as you don't want to reuse a song, if you reuse a song and you use it better, then you get a pass. But you have to make sure that like you're doing like the song justice, because if you're not, then yeah, it's a waste of time pretty much.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
But I
That
mean, I
Um,
always
like
try to avoid using songs that have already been used.
I
yeah, me
also
too.
think it
It's
helps if
just
it's
like
really
common courtesy.
obscure. Like for example, it's not like I would ever take offense if somebody reused a song that I used in my like 35 highlight videos. I mean, there's nothing special about those videos. Not a whole lot of people have seen them. So if somebody reuses a song from it, that's fine. There's also, I will say that there's a project I have planned down the road that is going to be reusing a song. Chris, I showed you this song
Yeah.
where you didn't recognize it. And if you guys know Chris, he's like the ultimate encyclopedia of like montage music. If it's been used in a montage, he knows about it. And so when
It's
he didn't
true.
recognize
Not
it,
always, but I try.
yeah,
Okay.
so when I showed him this song, I'm like, hey, Chris, has this been used? And he didn't recognize it. I'm like, all right, I'm good. So it was used in a video, but
Yeah.
it was obscure enough to where I feel like it can be reused.
On
Yeah,
So
well,
that topic, kind of a funny thing, the first song in Fat Rats M3, I actually used in a really shitty highlight video back in the day.
really,
Yeah.
well, yeah, some of my highlights before my M4 came out, so like old highlights, they used a bunch of songs that were already used, but like I will say in my defense, they were highlight videos and about two or three people watched them, so it's not like I hurt anyone's feelings.
Yeah.
But I will say, kind of like what Chris was saying about what Rob said, like, yeah, you can use or reuse the song if you do it better. If Howard frickin' used My Type, which was the second song in my M4, which is probably one of my favorite songs I've ever used, if he edited to it, I wouldn't complain at all.
Yeah.
Like, go for it, because I know
And
like he'll do it justice.
I know
But
we said
like,
we weren't going to call out people, but I have to call out someone here. Like when I see like really well-known, respected editors like Snipetality use songs that like Silly Goose used back in the day, and like in my opinion, not use it as well, like that bugs me honestly. And like I don't know, that's just something that like I've noticed before. Is like you have to make sure that you're gonna like do the song and the original video justice, because if you don't, it's noticed for sure.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like he does that because he feels like he can get away with what he wants because he's
I
editing
mean,
for
technically he
pros.
can, but it's not like people don't notice. But
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like the
yeah,
fact that he edits for pros and he's like, yeah, well, I can do it, you know.
yeah,
yeah.
And we may not agree with it, but well.
no, I don't want to get into that. I just had to mention that because when I forgot whose Taja was, but he edited a video where both songs were reused from different Tajas. Like
I don't remember. But that
one
does,
was Sandman's M2 in Reach, and the other one was Campy and Shenny's H2 Dual Taj.
yeah.
Like both really big videos. So
That's going to be it for episode 4 of the Halo Montager podcast. Now, we divided episode 4 into 4 and 5 because it was a very long recording session. So the other half of this is already recorded and edited and ready to be uploaded pretty soon. So keep an eye out for that whenever I upload it, and hopefully I'll see you then.